Alright, what's up guys? This is going to be, I guess, technically, yeah, my first Dungeonborne guide. And so this is going to be kind of like a fighter guide, but also kind of just like a arena PvP guide in general. I'll probably go over fighter and Death Knight because those are the two characters I play. And the things I'm going to cover, so getting into this game in terms of combat can be pretty complicated, for the main reason being the way your perks work in this game is they are tied to stats. It's not just like, oh, I have 4 perks, I equip them, bam. It's no, your perks are tied to the stats you have, and you have to get a certain amount of a stat to activate that perk. And then, for example, going into arena, especially if you go in with default gear, can be really overwhelming. You don't know what stat to look for. You only have 2 minutes. You don't get your gear in time. People run into your spawn that kill you while you're still gearing up, and the game's just over. GG, and you just leave the game. And so I'm going to try to remedy that quite a bit. So to start off with, I want to go over the gear you're going to look for and the stats you're going to look for. I'm just going to cover the base like stats for Fighter and Death Knight. I'll do Fighter, then I'll do Death Knight. So for Fighter, the things you're looking for mainly are Strength, Dexterity, Stamina, and Will. You only want enough Will to activate this perk. This right here is one of your best perks, and it's very, very easily activatable. I don't even know if I have... I think I have very little Will gear on. I have, what, 2 Will here, 6 here. That's all I think it says. So I have 8 Will, so you have 10 Will at the start. So you only need 15 Will to activate this. And whenever you get it, you cannot damage allies and cannot be damaged by allies. This is really, really good for 2 specific reasons. One, your whirlwind, whenever you spin, you can't hurt your teammates. And there's a really, really good combo you can do with this. It's like, let's say you're spinning on someone and they're blocking you, like with a shield, or they're parrying with a longsword, or whatever they're doing. You can have your other teammate come up beside you, like say they're a swordmaster, they're the fighter, Death Knight, any class that can use a longsword, and or even any sword really that can break a shield. And you have them charged heavy attack, and they break the person's guard, and then you kill them with the whirlwind, so now they can't do anything. This is a really easy way to counter shields. Really, really good way to counter shields. And if you, like I said, if you have will, they can go up, they can walk into your whirlwind, they won't take damage. Another very, very good thing about this is if you're playing with a Pyromancer, and obviously Pyromancer is one of the strongest spellcasters, if not the strongest spellcaster, barring Cryomancer. If you're playing with a Pyromancer, they can throw fireballs all day long, and if you're in a fight, even if the explosion hits you, doesn't do damage, you don't care. This is really, really good, and I think this is pretty much necessary at every single level. So you almost always want to focus on this. And now let's say you're going into arena, or you're just starting to gear up. You don't have that many stat points. What are the things you want to prioritize the most? Well, if you're not in arena, you can afford to not have this. It's gonna feel worse. However, you do reduce damage to teammates. So if you don't have this will perk, it won't kill you. However, I do highly recommend trying to get it. And then the next one you're going to want the most is the stamina perk. Fired up. Gives you 30. You take 30. You need 35 stam. Stam's already a very good stat for you because it gives you physical resistance at max life. So it's already a very good stat. However, what it does is after you after you use your E skill here, rush, you get a movement speed buff for 3 seconds, and it's pretty big. I don't know exact numbers, but it's a pretty big movement speed buff. But this is really, really good to help you chase down people. Very, very good skill. This right here is the skill I almost always try to prioritize first if I have my choice in gear. I always look for stamina first, then I'll go for dexterity or will. Ideally, you get both of these, and whenever you're leveled up, whenever you level your character up, you get base stats. So whenever you get level 20 on pretty much any character, you're going to be able to activate at least a tier 1 of all your perks. As long as you have decent gear, it won't be that hard. However, at level 1, it can be a bit more challenging, especially if you're going in arena gear and you get unlucky with the rolls and some stats. So stamina and will, I think, are the 2 most important ones to activate early on in arena if you're going to be fighting people, or like if you have a pyro or other fighters on your team that you're going to be hitting with your spin. Stamina to help you chase people, will to make sure you don't kill your teammates don't kill you. And then, like I said, after that, dexterity. Just more movement speed whenever using your whirlwind. Pretty nice. Once again, it helps it so whenever you do it, they can't just walk away from you. Not that great. I mean, not that bad, not that great. It's good to have because dexterity is also just base movement speed, which is always nice. However, outside of that, like I said, it's nice to have it. And the main reason you prioritize dexterity here is because the first strength breakpoint, Vengeful Riposte, isn't that good. After a successful block, briefly increase critical strike chance by a small amount. Like I said, it's not that good, and the main reason I'm going to say it's not that good is because if you headshot someone, it is a guaranteed critical strike, no matter what. And if you get a good parry, most of the time you're going to headshot them just because of the animation of the swing. So more often than not, you're not going to need the crit strike chance. So this one right here is very irrelevant. It's not hard to get once you get high level because you have so much base strength. However, getting like specking into it isn't the greatest. However, the second one, Weapon Mastery, Whirlwind increases physical resistance by a significant amount during the spin. That one is very, very good. Really, really good. But however, it does take 70 strength to activate, so getting it in arena, unless you're in like custom gear, like you know how I have my gear on, unless you bring in gear, not gonna happen unless you only build strength, and you get very lucky. Overall, it's a very good perk though. If you have it and another fighter doesn't, and you whirlwind on each other, and you're using physical damage weapons, you're pretty much always gonna win it because the amount of resistance it gives you is like insane. I think I saw a fighter use it one time. They went from 80% to like 160%. So it's a ridiculous amount. I could be wrong, but I know it's at least 40 to 50%. So this is pretty insane. I highly recommend, like I said, stamina and then will or dexterity, and then take the other one you don't have, and then into strength last. However, like I said, whenever you do get these perks activated, like you know you're getting your good gear on, ideally you want to get all of them. Like you want to have will active, stam active, dex active, strength active. And then after that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start stacking strength just for physical damage. That is the best thing I think you can do. Now, moving on in terms of gear, I can actually see, I actually don't have that. I mean, actually I have some gear, but I can actually do this and show you guys, which is like the best thing ever. So you see here, we have armor. Oh, let me just go just to armor for now. So you see here, we have armor pieces. There's not like a lot of choices here. I mean, you know, these are the... You know, you have one purple choice for boots, gloves, legs, and helmet, and then you have two for chest piece. So the thing is, pretty much it's just going to be these 5 right here. Knight's armor isn't bad. However, you don't really need the crit strike damage. Like, it's okay, but all elemental resistances is way better. Like, much, much better. It also, you know, I mean, it gives it, but they both give you max life. However, the sub-stat... So, okay, actually, let me go over this right first. So, you see, these things can roll, like, there's a range of stats they can roll. Boots, you want to try to roll as high as possible on move speed. Like, 25 move speed boots compared to 45 move speed boots is a very, very big difference, and you really, really want to try to get that high move speed on boots. Other than that, like I said, most of these rolls are, like, very whatever, like, you know, 14 to 16%, 10 to 12%. Like, they're important, but as long as you have the gear, they're really good. And then for sub-stats you want to roll... You want to look for something along the lines of like these right here. Like strength, dexterity, intelligence isn't good. I mean, this is perfect for Death Knight, but isn't that great for fighter because intelligence is a dead stat for fighter. Or these with stamina and all elemental resistances. Because all elemental resistances is such a good stat. Because there is a lot of elemental damage in this game that you can get fucked by. Lightning, fire, cold. And then you have people using weapons, usually shadow or fire. So pretty much everything except holy... I mean, mainly Holy. Holy's the one that isn't super important because the only person that's really going to use is a cleric, and it's a mace, and maces suck, and clerics aren't really going to be hitting you anyways. So the main stack, if you're going to stack just elemental, it's very, very good. Physical is also obviously very nice because everybody does some form of base physical damage. I don't know exactly how it's calculated, but you see how, like, you know, for example, like this weapon says it does 135 shadow damage. However, it will do some base amount of physical damage. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know there is some base physical damage tied in there. But yeah, like I said, going for rolls like these right here are very, very good. Just stamina, obviously, like you want to get all your, like you want to activate all your perks. Stamina's a good roll, strength's a good roll. You want to look for things like damage percent, if you're using like elemental weapons, like a shadow weapon, shadow damage percent. All of these are very good rolls, like I said here. Skill damage isn't that good for fighter, it's okay. But then physical damage percent, very good. Damage percent is very good. Then, like I said, your elemental damage if you're using elemental damage weapon, because damage percent here is just all damage, right? That's just, it boosts everything you do. Then you have more specifics, like I said, like these down here. You really just want to build towards whatever weapon you're using. And the thing is, if you're using an elemental weapon, you don't want to be speccing into strength that much because this is just physical damage, and you don't have that much base physical damage, so it isn't going to boost it that much. That's the problem with using an elemental weapon on fighter. Is fighter has a really low base intelligence. So you don't want to be stacking intelligence because it doesn't give you anything in terms of stat or perks. It's literally just your base elemental damage. So if you do use an elemental weapon, you have to stack damage percent and whatever specific damage roll you have, because you can roll like I don't even have a piece with it on it. I actually don't even know if I have a piece with like the damage percent on it. Just look really quick. That's physical damage. Like right here, like shadow damage, right? Like 6.9% shadow damage. That's going to give you way more than... Here, I could actually... Let me equip this. So you see, I have 15 intelligence with 7.5% elemental damage. I go to 21, I go to 10.5%, right? So I only gain... I only gain 3% elemental damage from 6 intelligence, as opposed to the 7% shadow damage I would gain here. So just building these base stats for the specific damage type you are going for is much, much better. Alright, other than that, moving on to specific gear equipments, the best loadout you can run is longsword, double daggers, and I like to carry a crossbow in my inventory in case you need to shoot a cryomage or a pyromancer. Either of those, both very good, because if you crossbow them while they're channeling a spell, it will cancel. Same with Swordmaster channeling his swords. If you crossbow them, it will cancel it, and they will have to recharge it, which is very, very good, specifically for Cryomancer. If Cryomancer is using their little circle AoE that they can control and then pop out to the big Nova, that will freeze you. If you shoot them before it pops out to the Nova, it will cancel the ability. Very, very good to have a crossbow in case you have to do that. Then other than that, double daggers are just unparalleled for movement ability. You can dagger dash all around the map. You pair that with your rush and the fired up perk. You are literally almost as mobile as a rogue is outside of double jump. You will zoom around the map. Fantastic. Gotta love it. You know? Honestly, now I'm just, okay, this is like a segue, but this is like a, now that I'm going on this, I'm definitely going to do a separate PvP guide. I'm just going to do this as a character guide I'm just going to do this probably as a fighter character guide, and I'll do one for Death Knight right after. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll do 2 different videos. So, like I said, dagger dashing around the map makes you very, very mobile. Can get you to a lot of places. You can jump up on places. You can move from place to place. For example, I actually don't have video footage of it because I wish I did, but I've seen people do it. And if you watch streams, I'm sure you have too. On the arena map with the 2 towers that has the stairs that go up, you can like dagger dash from there to like the other side. You could pretty much move all the way across that map, like going on places most characters can't go other than double jump rogues or other people that have daggers, because you can use the dash to traverse the terrain. Then longsword, I mean, not much to talk about here. Longsword's just an insanely good weapon. You have the parry, you have really high damage, very strong weapon, pretty much the best weapon in the game for most characters. Almost every character that can use this likes using this the most. Swordmaster loves it, Death Knight likes it a lot, Fighter, best weapon. Have to have it to activate Whirlwind. Not much to say here, pretty insane. And then, like I said, crossbow, just for good for mages. And then going back to the weapons, so I can show you guys the really good epics to use. Because there are legendaries I could go over, however, most people are never going to use them. I mean, let's just be real, it's unlikely. So for longswords, your 2 choices are the Longsword of Shadow or the Knight's Longsword. Longsword of Shadow is your elemental one, and then the Knight's Longsword is pure physical damage. So the thing is, if you build the Knight's Longsword, you have to have physical penetration, because other fighters, you're going to hit them for very, very little. However, the Longsword of Shadow, if you run this, unless they're stacking Shadow Res, you're going to hit them much, much harder. But keep in mind, like I did mention, you do have to stack damage percent, shadow damage to make this really do anything, because you don't have a ton of intelligence. And then other than that, you can use daggers like the Dagger of Ash is very good. And then I think that's pretty much it. I think it's literally just the Dagger of Ash. You can run the Bloody Blade too, but it's not like insane. And so, fun fact actually about this game, something that is very worth mentioning right now so you guys know. So, you benefit from all of the stats from the weapons you have equipped. So, like, you know, I get all of the stats of the weapons in my offhand, even if I have the main hand equipped. It's not like Dark and Darker where if I have my sword and shield out, and I have, you know, +4 life, and then I swap over to my crossbow that has +4 life, and they're, like, separate. Why? Like, why did I skip an invite? So if you have, like, let's say, like, while I have this weapon out, I will also be getting the crit chance and the crit chance from these 2 weapons. So any rolls on these 2, you'll have benefited just no matter what. And so that's why, like, that's why I mentioned things like these daggers are very, very good to have equipped. Because you get like the damage from this, the fizz damage, crit strike chance, and then you're getting the what the hell? Oh, there. And you're getting like the fire damage, crit strike chance, crit strike damage from this. So these are very, very good to have. Like I said, you're not really gonna fight with the daggers a ton. They're good at killing casters, specifically for the backstab animation. If they try to run, you chase them down, hit them with a backstab. You can pretty much 2-shot most casters if you do them with a charged dagger stab into a backstab. They'll pretty much die from like full, and if not, they'll be very, very low. But other than that, the longsword is going to be your main source of damage. You can use sword and shield, but it is much, much worse on fighter, so I do not recommend it. You pretty much, the thing is, to activate Whirlwind, which is your bread and butter skill, you literally have to have a longsword. So just run either, Longsword of Shadow is like pretty much the main one that's used. The general setup, it will be Longsword of Shadow, and then you'll have like Bloody Blade, Dagger of Ash, and then the crossbow in your offhand. Not much else to say about that. And I think... And this is more on arena PvP. However, if you're playing normals, use Flask. Flask are OP. They're getting nerfed very soon, but these things are beyond broken. Thunderclap and the Incendiaries, these right, where are they at? Nope, yeah, these right here, these things are completely broken. Use them. Other than that, I don't think there's a ton for me to go over. Gear, like, there are no, like, other than the armor, there's not really many specific gear choices. The stats you can wear in terms of jewelry and stuff really just comes down to the sub rolls. You can use stam jewelry, you can use strength, dex, will, literally whatever you need to hit your breakpoints. And like I said, I'm not running will here. Like, even though I recommend doing, I'm not running will here because I'm playing solos on this character, and this kit isn't for solos, so I don't need will. So if you're playing solos, you don't need to build will, obviously, right? Because it just doesn't do anything. You don't need to not damage your teammates because you have no teammates. But yeah, with that being said, I think I'll wrap it up there, and I will work on my Death Knight guide, so that will be coming soon. But thank you guys for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. So go out there and enjoy Fighter. With that being said, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.